Have you ever noticed your Flutter app calling the same API again and again? Even when you don't touch anything, you open the screen API call, you tap a button API called again, sometimes it even reloads randomly. This is one of the most common mistakes Flutter developers make, and worst part is most people don't even notice this is happening inside their application. So in this video, I'll show you exactly why this happens, how to prove it using logs, and how to fix it properly so your API is called only when you want it to. And in this way you can also reduce the number of API calls you make and make a smooth user flow in your Flutter application. So why late? Let's get started with this particular video. And if you're watching this video for the first time on our channel, I suggest you to stay subscribed to our channel for more interesting content. In the previous vlog, we have discussed a few issues regarding the Flutter lag, and here's the link for the video in the description section below. And if you are a beginner just started learning Flutter, I suggest you to have a look at it. So here in this particular example, it is pretty much clear we are trying to fetch some information from the API, and here you can see I have just written a mock API call here. So it doesn't make a real-time API call, just we are trying to add some delay of 2 seconds here and trying to return some information. This is completely fine for this particular example. This is pretty much clear regarding the API call, and we are trying to fetch the data here. So we are trying to fetch the data directly, we have specified here to the future. So what exactly the issue happening here? Let me try to run this particular code and show you. And also you can notice here I have added a button, and inside the button I have specified set state and empty block of code here. So I have specified set state as an empty block here just to refresh the state. So this won't do any data related changes in our application. So the application is now getting installed, and let us try to observe the logs whether the API call is being printed or not. So here API is called and the data is also received here, hello from API. And when I click on the button here, and again you can just try to refresh it in any other possible way that will trigger the set state. And when I click on the set state here, the API is called again. So when I click this multiple times, right, the API is being called multiple times even though we don't require the API to be called in this particular scenario. So how to handle this in a professional way? So the first thing is, let me try to declare a variable here of type future, and here we are specifying late. So make sure we are not initializing this particular variable then and there. So here we have declared data here, and this particular data we are going to initialize in initState here. So we are in stateful widget, we have got the initState block of code here, and inside this we are going to initialize our data variable now. So data is equal to fetch data, and here we have specified fetch data, right? Let me try to cut this and replace it with data here, and data is nothing but the variable which we have declared here. And let me try to call the fetch data now inside the initState of block. So clearly what we are trying to do here is, whenever the code is run for the first time, then this init block will be called, and only then the API call is made here, and we are making use of the data through the variable which we have declared. So let me try to run this particular code now and see the output once, and try clicking on the button multiple times, and let us observe whether the API is being called again or not. So here you can see clearly the API is not being called again and again here. even though I click this multiple times. And again there will be a second question, what if we want the list to be, what if we want the API call to be made again? So like a refresh call. So how we need to handle this particular scenario? So it's again very simple. Here I will try to handle this in a very simple way. Let me try to wrap this with the refresh indicator here, and this refresh indicator will receive this parameter on refresh. So let me try to quickly create one more method here. Refresh method I'll be creating now. So here I have written the refresh method, and let me try to provide this over here. And also there is one more important thing whenever you are making use of a refresh indicator, right? So generally refresh indicator works like when you pull down it will try to refresh, but here we don't have anything like a scroll state here. So let me try to replace this particular center widget with the list view now. And also expanded should be over the top of refresh here. So let me try to remove this from here for now, and let me wrap refresh indicator with expanded. And now let us try to run this particular code and see the output. So here we can see we have got hello from API, and try observing the logs now. Let me try to refresh it, and again API is called. So here when I will be clicking this button, right, the API is not being called now because set state is not affecting the API call anymore. So only whenever you try to scroll down, right, then the API call is happening. So I hope this is very clear for you, and the code for this video I'll be providing in the description section below as well. And this is the best way to implement the API calls in your Flutter application. And if you are already having API calls in your Flutter application, I just suggest you to add the logs and try to observe how many times each API is being called, and also try to reduce the API calls by utilizing these particular techniques which we have discussed in this particular video. Also do let me know if you are looking forward for the AI based Flutter tutorials. Already we have dealt with few AI based Flutter tutorials, but going forward every programming language is being tightly coupled with AI here. So what is your view on that? Just let me know in the comment section below. We'll proceed accordingly. So I hope you found this video interesting. If yes, do like, share and subscribe to our channel for more interesting content on Flutter.